Welcome back to First Move and back to the future.
Hey, Doc, we better back up. We don't have enough road to get up to 88.
Roads? Well, we're going, we don't need roads.
Now, just imagine a car that vertically takes off like that and then zips through the skies. Well, California-based startup Alef Aeronautics touting its flying car's unique designs with 8 propellers. The passenger compartment rotates and the sides of the car become wings as it tilts towards forward flight. Alef says it can be the solution to congestion and even could be greener than typical electric vehicles. Backed by venture capitalist Tim Draper, an early investor in Tesla and SpaceX, Alef says it's received 3,200 pre-orders for its $300,000 Model A with just a $150 deposit. OK, that was a lot of numbers. Joining us now is Jim Dukhovny. He's CEO of Alef Aeronautics. Jim, fantastic to have you on the show. Do you know what stands out to me? Most of the flying cars that we've discussed actually are sort of helicopters. This, at least in design, looks like a flying car.
That's correct. And it's good that you showed some of the science fiction, especially like Hollywood movies, because that was a blueprint. This is a unique product where people actually had the blueprint of their mind. Our job was semi-easy just to make it engineering. It's actually my co-founders, Konstantin, Oleg, and Paul, who created that, who took the blueprint from the Hollywood, from Isaac Asimov, Ray Bradbury, and created something which looks and functions like a car and also flies exactly the same way as you expected.
OK, so what you have to explain is what we saw in, and I like the way that you called it science fiction, because it does feel a little bit like that. What we saw was the takeoff of the Model A, and then it sort of turns on its side, but the cockpit swivels so that the driver is still facing forward. I mean, this is pretty wild in terms of designs. How close are we to making this reality?
So we're about 1.5 years ago closed. I mean, ago, not forward. So we've been flying for some time, at least for over a year. As you know, we've been granted FAA permission. That's the first car, like actual car, which has been granted permission to vertically take off and fly, not for commercial reasons, but we do fly that. So we've been flying that for a long time now. The tilting, what it's called transition, the reason for it is because when you take off and you fly forward, which is, by the way, a very interesting use case, when you can drive, you see some object in front of you or some problem, you can vertically take off and fly over that. But if you want to go a long distance, you probably want to do the transition. The reason is, if you vertically take off, you spin propellers so fast, you actually drain your battery, which means it's very not efficient and you're not going to have a good distance. In order to have a good distance, you need good aeronautics, which means you need wings. When you tilt, when you do the transition, you look like a biplane. You actually have 2 wings, top wing and a bottom wing, which makes it incredibly efficient, incredibly battery efficient, and gives it a long distance.
OK, so we were showing some video there of it meeting some kind of traffic jam or obstacle in the road, and then it takes off, which I love. Here's my problem. It's got a cruise speed, I believe, of 110 miles per hour while in the air, but only 25 to 35 miles per hour on the ground. And it only weighs the same as a golf cart, I believe. So I just worry about safety if it is involved in some kind of collision on the road. How do you get around sort of all of these things, I think? The practicalities, I guess I'm asking.
Sure. So on the ground, it's actually illegal because we don't want to crash test the car initially because you need the certification for the car, so it can drive much faster. It can go over 100 miles per hour. But legally, we're just limiting it to 25 to 35, right? Just because we don't want to crash test and we go in a different classification. Now, the safety, I love that you brought it up. Actually, so there is a flying safety and a ground safety. On a flying safety, so think about the current airplanes. You have 2 engines, right? And you have wings, 2 engines, and sometimes propellers, right? In our case, we have 8 independent systems of propeller, motor speed controller. And what it does, it makes it at least 4 times more redundancy, 4 to 16 times more redundancy, because we have also inter-system redundancy. And also we have ballistic parachutes, a full vehicle parachute, if anything like that. All the propellers are enclosed, so there's like a level of safety which had never been seen before in the air. On the ground, when a car drives, it's actually also because it's a little bit longer and has like designed a little bit different. It uses incredibly strong carbon fiber. It also is one of the safest vehicles. And when it flies, it's a longer argument for what we have time, but it's actually good when you fly because you have more space to maneuver and more time to recover. Think about when the collision happens, like two vehicles try to occupy the same space, and usually damage happens when you hit the curb or a tree. Something which you don't have in the air and you have more time to recover, especially with redundancy of the systems and ballistic parachutes.
Yes, you just have to hope you don't hit the car or the tree before you try and take off, because we can reconvene on that, I think, on that one in particular. I want to talk about cost, $300,000. Now, I will say I was so excited by the prospect of this that I did sign up. I'm one of those on the list that paid the $150. I've got my certificate and everything, Jim. It's very exciting. I'm clearly hoping to be involved in some kind of test ride at some point. But talk to me about how, there it is, look. How quickly can you make these things once you get the certification? As you say, you're hoping to make them, but God, you're going to need a lot of money to produce these. Do you have enough money?
Well, right now we do have enough money to start producing the first batch. I'm assuming since you signed up recently, you're not going to be in the first batch, but we'll hopefully get to you pretty soon. So we do have like on a first batch. Obviously, when we go further, we're still fundraising, so we'll need that. That being said, the cost being $300,000 right now is because only few are produced by hand and the production is not optimized. When the volume will increase and when production will be optimized, we tend to go towards something under $35,000. And the reasoning for it is very simple. The simplicity of the design, the car itself is simpler than Ford Focus or Toyota Corolla or anything like that. But we need to get to their numbers. We need to get to their level of efficiency production. Then it will be affordable. Right now, it's early adopters like you, which is absolutely great. You would be one of the first people, hopefully in your town, maybe in your country, to actually use it and get all the benefits. But then the cost will shrink eventually, and hopefully we'll get to people down the line.
Yeah. And so there's a priority list as well where you have to pay $1,500. And obviously I'm going to need several years or lifetimes actually to save the money to buy it. Anyway, Jim, but just give us a sense very quickly, to have 3,000, the wait list, to be in a position where you've got 3,000 of these that are flying around, how long are we talking? 5 years, 10 years? What do you think?
It completely depends on the amount of funding we get. It depends on the efficiency, and it depends also on the legislation, and it actually depends where you are. Yeah. For example, if you're in UK, you will actually get it faster than if you're in US, because there's actually better legislation. For example, Canada, UK, Italy, and some other countries will get them faster because the legislation allows us today to actually deploy it, and you're legally allowed to fly that. So some countries will have advantage over other countries. I would say I can't give exact timing, but I say you probably being maybe like in Europe or like in Canada, UK, or Italy and anything, you have a chance to get it pretty fast.
Oh, now that's a promise. In the interim, given that I live in the United States, I'm going to frame that certificate and keep it close by, Jim. Keep us posted with development. Great to chat to you, sir. Thank you. Jim Dukhovny there, the CEO of Alef Aeronautics. Great to chat. We'll be right back.